Just one, two, three, okay. My name's Leonard Hill. I am the newsletter editor by profession, I guess, for the club. And I've been doing a series of demos on digital photography. The first one was Introduction to Digital Photography. We did intermediate, and now we're going to do the advanced one. This CD follows the same format that the others do, fairly much, without much trouble. And we're going to cover storyboards, frames, some stuff on CD albums, slideshows, emailing your stuff. Chuck's going to do some stuff on home remodeling and things. We're talking about shopping and a whole bunch of ideas on using your camera that you haven't ever even thought of. Talk a little bit about thumbnails and thumbnail managers, so on and so forth. It says that this CD is best when viewed by 800 by 600. Unfortunately, when I created it, I forgot to reset my machine, so you better have your machine set for about 1000 by 780 or higher in order to see what we're running here. This is an HTML-based presentation, so you can just go through it with your normal browser and see what's there. Here's an overview of what was done in all of the other demos. The one thing which is different about this demo is I have started using a new program called Camtasia. It is used primarily to produce training videos and for documentation purposes. This is the first time I've made some extensive use of it. The first few of the demos I made didn't have sound because it wasn't working until I got the upgrade for the package. And the last few, it was. What you're going to have to do to view these Camtasia-based presentations is you're going to have to go off and install the codec on your machine in order for it to work. You just click there and come out here and tell it to save. It'll give you an application to run because mine's already installed here. And install it, it'll go off and everything will be fine. It won't hurt your machine. It just gives you one more of those things which will decode video so that you can watch it. Also, it will open in your normal player, so you don't have to install a separate player, although it works a little easier than if you're trying to use Windows Media Player. And if you click on this, it will install the player for you, so that when the Camtasia file opens, it will just pop up, and you don't have all the overhead and the mess that you have with Windows Media Player. If you want to know a little bit more about this package, there's a user's guide down there. It'll tell you what it'll do. I'm just scratching the surface on it, and the good news is they got a special on it this month. It's only $200. But it is a good package for doing this type of stuff here. And once we get a little more used to it, I think you'll probably see us use more of this in our presentations because we can essentially do and record the presentation, and it just kind of plays back to you all by itself. And the advantage that has is when you take the CD home, instead of having to go between the two CDs to find out what's going on, it will actually be there with the voice and everything else on the presentation, just like I'm talking to you. Okay, let's go on and take a look at the actual demo itself. If you need a copy of this demo, just ask the librarian for CD number 30. We started numbering the CDs to make life a little simpler. It's a little confusing between when you're asking for the demo versus a video of the demo, and we got some that have slightly different names, and a lot of them sound just alike, so we just went off and numbered them. Okay, this presentation is in 3 parts. We're going to talk about things that you can do with your photos, and then we're going to talk about other things you can do with your digital camera, and you just thought it was for taking pictures when you bought it. And then we're going to talk about managing your photos. I kind of shortchanged this one because I ran out of time, and if you're a casual picture taker, it's probably not too important. If you got 3 or 4 gigabytes or 8 or 9 gigabytes like I do in photos, it becomes a real problem, and management becomes a real issue because I can't find everything I'm looking for, and photos and GIFs and JPEGs are all part of the problem. First thing we want to talk about is things you can do to enhance your pictures and make them look a little bit better. And most of us just print out pictures, and after a while that kind of gets a little bit tired. So there's various and sundry things that different packages offer and allow you to do. One of the more interesting ones is to add frames to your package. And what that lets you do This is a shareware package called PhotoElf. It's on here. And they offer a whole lot of different mask packs and things and whatnot that you can go through. And with their package, it's a $30 package, by the way, you can pick up their pictures and spice them up quite a bit by adding backgrounds and frames to your picture. This package not only does this, but they have a whole bunch, and I mean a whole bunch, of mask packs that are out there on different various and sundry subjects and so on and so forth. Got to watch trying some of those clicks. Always click back. And we have downloaded all of the mask packs out there for you, and they are all on this CD. And the shareware has a 30-day demo on here, so you can play around with those to your heart's content. Now, you just don't have to use PhotoElf to do this. You can do this with almost any software, photo editing software package, which supports layers. Layers is when you put your picture at one part and you put something else over the top of it called a layer. And you can look between those two layers and you can merge those two layers together. That's essentially what frames are all about in making frames. Some things you can do as well, you can make someone look like $1 million. And all we've done here is we've just put a picture over a dollar bill. And there's all kinds of these frames out there. I found a small number of my collection. I'm probably missing several hundred of them. They're lost someplace on one of my hard drives. But just take a quick look at some of the things which you can do with these things. I love demos. Okay, on this CD I have included a large number of frames and backgrounds and borders that you can use in your pictures and to enhance them any way you want. Here's your listening to a Camtasia presentation. I'm not going to let this run through all of them because we don't have time tonight, but I would like it to go through the background series here and get down into some of the frame shots. It'll only take a few more seconds. It's about halfway through now. You can take any one of these pictures and insert people in them, where there are pictures in them. If you have a tennis player, you can stick them in there as a tennis ball. You can put somebody on the money. You can stick them in the background. You can cut part of that out and stick it around persons. You can replace the center area there. When you get into the actual frames like this, there's a spot for the person to go, if you will. You can find a lot of these on the internet off the sites that generally sometimes are called themes and frame themes and things of that nature, where you can find collections of them.
Are all these on the CD?
All of these are on the CD. And when we get back to the thing here, we'll show you.
Which CD is this on? It's a CD number 30 out of the library. The title is Digital Photography number 3.
Digital photography number 3.
Number 3, right.
Advanced digital photography. Okay. That was an overview of all of them. Each one has its own little separate area where if you want to go through it, and we've used one of the slideshow generators in here, so you can click on this and go through it. They're all underneath the main root directory on the CD in a package called Frames in those directories. Very easy to find. And, just to show you, there's one, it'll just flip right through it. If you saw I had a screensaver over here running. It was essentially just this slideshow program. Okay. Other things you can do to make your pictures a little bit more interesting is to enhance the background. Either make the background less obtrusive so the picture pops out of it. We showed you how to do that with Paint Shop Pro 2 months ago when we did that demo in intermediate photography. There was a whole section there about blurring backgrounds and changing background perspectives. This one deals a little bit more with enhancing the background to make it pop out at you. Taking a standard picture, they've gone through, select the background, they've taken actually the people and have swirled the people and then put them back into the background. By taking the people and using the people and swirling them, what this does is this assures that the colors that are in the foreground of the picture are in the background so that it doesn't look abnormal. If you just took something else and swirled it and stuck it in there, the colors wouldn't look right. So that's what this does. There's a tutorial on the disc to how to go through and do that. We've also, in this directory, we have placed a full copy of the JASIC demo program out there and all of their detailed tutorials which go through using that package step by step and everything that it can do. Another thing that you can do, if you're just tired of taking a look at old photographs and doing photographs, let's try to do something else with them. Let's try to convert them into art. And this package is again from JASIC software. I tend to lean toward their stuff for two reasons. One, it's very good software. They support it quite well. It'll do almost everything that Photoshop will do. And if you're looking at these prices, it's between $50 and $100 versus $600 for the Photoshop package. So it's affordable and it's within people's means, so you can use it. These are the things that you can do with a picture, where you can go through, you can provide various and sundry things, brush strokes to it. It supports 12 different brush strokes and 6 different background images that you can add to your photo to enhance it and to change it to make it look like artwork of one type or another. And you can print it off in different sizes, or you can take it off to Kinko's and you can print these things up 16 by 20s and 30 by 36 images and so on and so forth. And the software is out there. You just click on any of these where the software title is, just click on open and it will load it onto your drive for you. Another thing which is interesting in photography, and that's called storyboarding and photo essays. Rather than just taking the pictures, make your pictures tell a story. The simplest way to do that is with a storyboard. And a storyboard is used in production arenas for cartoons, movies, television shows, and whatever you want, to show the flow of events and process that goes through. A storyboard is mostly photos and very little text, has titles generally, and that's about it, or chapters or scenes. A photo essay, on the other hand, relies primarily upon text and has a few photos to augment that. Let's take a look at a couple. Here's an example of a very simple storyboard that was put together with some photos that one of our members contributed to the process. And what we're going to do is we're going to take you all off to have a party. Where are we going? Well, we're going to go to Build-A-Bear workshop. And how do we get there? Well, just follow me right along. And we're going to get there. We're going to have, what? A birthday party. Well, I'm glad we all made it. We're going to have some fun. They're putting the fun in my Build-A-Bear. My very own Teddy. Thanks, Dad. A little certificate of appreciation, and thanks to all of us for coming. Very simple storyboard. It would have been nice if he had made it a storyboard when he took the pictures. He just took a couple pictures and sent them. Plan your storyboard before you do it. It does two things. Not only does it make the outcome come out better, but it gives you a sense of what you need to shoot and what you need to take pictures of. And remember, this is a digital camera you're using. Pictures essentially don't cost very much, a few pennies, because all the expense is really batteries. And if you're using rechargeables, which you should, the costs of the whole process are negligible. So instead of just taking 4 or 5 pictures because, gee, they cost a lot to get them printed and developed, who cares if you shoot 50 or 60 of an event? Okay? That's the biggest thing that you have to get amateur photographers to overcome when dealing with in the digital world. Pros take those beautiful pictures you see them take hundreds of pictures. When we used to shoot pictures for yearbooks and for catalogs, when we were shooting the small frame stuff, 35 millimeters. Yeah, we had a 35 millimeter camera. The smallest thing I ever had on that camera was a 27-foot roll cartridge. Okay, 12 rolls of film on a motor. Bing, 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 bing. Take pictures that quick. Yeah, you got a good one. But the cost was the time and the studio time and the model time and all that. The cost of that film, even though that film cost 35 or 40 bucks for a 27-foot roll, was negligible. And when you got into bigger things, you loaded a 100-foot magazine on the darn thing. You had magazines sitting on a little camera like that to take a picture. When you got to the bigger format stuff, we're shooting 4x5s and 8x10s. Now they cost $5 to $20 a shot. So those you set, you stage, and you plan them out. But shooting your digital camera, you need to get down to where you're just shooting pictures, shooting pictures, shooting pictures. But plan them. What could you have done to make this better? Well, you could have planned. You got to get out. You got to get organized. You got to get out of the house. You got to get in the car. Pictures driving there, getting out of the car, walking into the store. More pictures while you're in the store. Walking home, walking out to the car, driving home, getting out of the car. The teddy bear at home. All these things can be built into telling this very simple story, and you don't have to worry about a lot of words. It's just the pictures and a few titles to drive this thing home. And now you have something that's as good for a photo album or good to send off to relatives and friends. Okay, let's take a look at a photo essay. Photo essay is also telling a story with pictures, but as you can see, it's much more text-oriented. So if you're trying to tell a story of someone's life, or you're trying to tell a story about a particular event, you write the story and you supplement it with the photographs to drive home the point. Okay? That's the main difference between the two. This one is more text, the other one is easier to go. Okay. We've gone through both of those. Slideshows is another thing you can do with your pictures. You all remember those, and looking around out here, there ain't too many youngsters out here. I got to explain what a slideshow is. That's where you got invited over to somebody's house. You say, gee, that's great. And the next thing you know, they drug out a slide projector screen. You spent 2 hours looking at boring vacation pictures, right? Well, the good news is that all comes right back. We can do that with digital photography just like that. And we can even snazz them up a little bit. The good news is you can put them on a CD, and for $1, you can send them to your friends. Okay, how to make slideshows. There's all kinds of ways to make slideshows, from very simple to very complex. Let's look at an easy one. We're going to use our program that I like called Infraframe View. It's on this disc. We've discussed it on each of the discs. If you do anything with photographs or with graphics, just use this program for the simple parts. It's free, it's simple to use, and it does an amazing amount of things. And it will also do your slideshows.
InfraView, the program which we used in the Introduction to Digital Photography and in the Intermediate Digital Photography program, also has a slideshow feature. You can access the slideshow feature by going to File, Slide Slow, or by simply just pressing the W key at any point in time. Navigate to the directory that you want to make your slideshow out of. Select the pictures you wish to include in your slideshow. Click Add, and simply click Play. And
Okay, it's that simple. If you need more information on using this program, there are detailed instructions which you've taken off of the intermediate photography disc on installing it, using it, printing with it, and changing the icons and so on and so forth. It's a nice program. The only drawback of it is that there is no way to save your slideshow with that program. But if you need something quick and dirty, you just can't beat it. You pop it up, hit the W key, select the files, and man, you're off and running, and that's all there is to it. There's another program called SlideView, another very simple program. This is by Hamrick Software, and SlideView is a free program that they offer. These people also make some printing software and some scanning software that's been around. They've been in the business since the early days of Windows 3.1. and do a lot of things with screen prints and so on and so forth. But the one we're interested in is how do you make a slideshow using this program. And okay, let's make a simple, easy slideshow. I promised you that the View Slide program was simple and easy to use. Let's see how to do that. First off, we need to go to the View where the View program is stored. We need to create a directory where we wish to put all of our files. We have already made one here called Demo, and it is blank. Go find the source of your files which you wish to put into the program. And I'm going to take the slides from the directory here called Nature. And I'm going to take them all, select them. I'm going to simply move them over to my new directory and copy them there. Now all I need to do is go into the View program, pick up the View Slide program, and move it into the Demo directory, so that now I have my slides, my pictures, and I have the View Slide program. To run this slideshow, all you need to do is simply click on View Slide. And here is our demo. Now, if we want to enlarge something or image, we can click on any part of it. To make it smaller, we left click. If we wish to highlight a particular part of it and enlarge that, draw a box and click around it. Use the right mouse key to take it back to the particular size you want it. You can make it as small or as big as you want. Let's exit this now, because I want to show you one other important feature. And that is, in a directory on the CD called AutoRun, we have placed a little program out here which will allow you to create an auto-running CD slideshow using the View Slide program. Simply take this program under the AutoRun, where it says AutoRun View Slide, and copy this over to the location where you have stored your View Slide program and your directories. Once it's there, now all you need to do is start up your CD burner, copy all of these files into the root of your CD-ROM, and burn it. And you will have your own auto-running slideshow. It's that simple. Not hard to do. Very easy with that particular program. If you want to know more about their particular programs and so on, you can go back and go through the things. We've given you the links to the stuff. Dwayne, you had a question?
Yeah, can you email a slideshow like that, or is the file just too big?
Depends how big it is. The View Slide program is rather small. Depends upon how many images you put in there. We'll talk about emailing pictures a little bit later on down in the demo. And you can do that, if you keep the size down, because there's generally a 5 or 6 megabyte limit on what you can attach to an email program. Some ISPs only support 2 megabytes, so it can get kind of dicey real quick if your images are of high quality or very large. The other option that you have that we'll talk about later is that if you have an ISP, most of them provide you some space which you can use to create your own web page. That's typically 20 megabytes. So you've got 20 megabytes of web space out there that anybody can get to, and you can put anything out there that you want, and you can dump a slide program out there, or a video CD out there, or whatever you want to share photographs with anybody. Okay? All right?
Thank you.
Okay. Okay. That's slideshows. CD albums. This is an area that has become very popular of late. We see it a lot of activity. There was just a few programs in this when it first started out, and now there are all kinds of programs out there to make these flip albums. Some actually make an album. We'll show you some of those. Others essentially just make what I would more or less call an indexed file that you use, and you click on and you go through the presentations, much like what you would do with a thumbnail generator, which we'll cover later. But let's take a look at a couple of these. Again, PhotoElf has a feature where it can go off and make a slideshow. Theirs is one of these programs that kind of works this way, where you get The images down the right, you click on them, they come up, or you can run their slideshow off of here. Fortunately, the slideshow's got to be online in order for it to work, and it won't run on here, even though the pictures and all are here. But it does give you some idea of what it can do. They also make these themes available, and you can load their themes in so that you can make it for various and sundry holiday seasons and events. That ties back into what we're talking about, those masks up in the first part. This is what they use down here as well. Another program, one of the ones which I use and like fairly well, is a program called Flip Album. It was one of the first ones which came out, and is certainly the more popular. And we'll take a quick look at how to do that. This is one of my first Camtasia ones, and I don't believe this one has sound, so I'll work with it. This is Flip Album Pro. It makes a book just like this. You can add your photos to it. You can highlight them. You can add sounds to this book if you'd like. You can put all kinds of graphics and text in there. You can make a career out of building one of these things. Or I'll show you one where it's just fast and simple, where you just dump the stuff in it and let it rip. But this is probably one of the premier packages, slideshow package programs, if you'd like to look at it. They make a standard version, which I have provided to you on this disc. The one you're looking at here is the Pro version. There is no difference on that. The only difference is in the license agreement, where I can distribute master copies and so on and so forth of my books with this. And you can go through there and click through these things. We just won't spend a lot of time with that. Learning how to make one from this thing. It's very simple and very easy. You're going to make it from a folder. You want to get all your pictures ready, organized, enhanced in every way you want them. Go out and find your photographs that you're going to use. It's that simple. It made the book when I gave it the directory. This is a directory of various and sundry background grifts which I use. It's a way to organize and keep track of things so I can find out what they are. It gives me the names of them. It's just an easy way to keep track of thousands of things without doing a whole lot of work and effort. And if you want, you can animate it. You can put sound in it. It'll play sound while the book is opening. It'll play sound just for a specific page. You can do all kinds of things. It builds tables of contents for you that are active. You can click on any one of those contents. It will take you to the page. It will also build an index file for you at the end, which works the same way. And we don't need to go through all of that. We've also given you an older version here, version 3.1, which is a little bit easier and simpler to use than the version 5, so it's on this disc also. Another one that we found out there, and the advantage that this one has, of course, it fits all of our budgets. It is free. It's called JAlbum, and this one is one of the ones which generates an HTML type document that works out on the web. And it's relatively easy. It has a relatively simpler interface. It doesn't do as much as what the Flip Album program does. But it's very usable and works quite well. There is also a detailed user's manual with this one, so instead of just being left to your own devices to figure it out, it'll go through and gives you quite a bit of help on it. The other one that is out there, and I don't know if we talked about this before or not, Jurassic has come out with this is a new program. It's been in beta test, and I played with the beta version a couple months ago, and the first part of this month they released the finalized version of this thing. It is a very complete photo album cataloging program. It'll do your archiving of your photos and tracking of your photos and building a database and the whole 9 yards. It also has a lot of features in it where it will do auto-enhancing of your images to do color balance and correction and remove red eye and so on and so forth. And it does it in a very automatic way. So it's a lot easier for most people to use. This is the information on the beta file. I have the other stuff out here. There's not much of a change except they've gotten some of the bugs out of the code. But it has a whole lot of nice things about it. This program will also build standalone CDs of your albums, which you can send off to people. I've given you both the beta version, which I messed around with, and also the trial version of the current release. If you want to learn more about this package, and they have about 9 or 10 tutorials on specific parts of this out there, you need to go out to their website. I did not bother to download them all and stick them here, or we'd be here for another hour tonight. But there's the link for those. My Album is another one of these programs that does various and sundry things. It's a very simple type of program that goes out and creates a photo album. There are examples I have on here, but they won't run unless you have their program installed. Again, a very nice, easy, simple to use interface program on it. It has one feature which makes this a little bit different from other programs, and that is this poster printing feature. If you have a photograph and you want to make it extra large, it'll allow you to print them on multiple sheets of paper. So you can get a bigger picture than what your printer is capable of doing. It'll find similar photos. You can make screensavers out of it and so on and so forth. Photo Album is another freeware package. A nice simple interface about it with what it'll do and how it'll work with things. It works a little bit like the some of the other, like Photo Album Designer. They show some stuff on it that's related. The link's mixed up there. Photo Album Designer is another program that I like real well. It's on this disc also. It's a $50 download. It's probably a little easier to use than the Flip Album program is. Has about the same features and stuff, a little easier, I think, to use. I have used this one. Screenshots. And again, the software is out there. Web Album Designer. This one is one which creates stuff and puts it out onto the web for you to look at and share. In other words, we're talking about your ISP gives you some 20 megabytes of space. This would be a good program to use for that. It'll generate the index.html file that's necessary. It'll link all the pictures to that, put the thumbnails in there. You click on them, it'll automatically take you off to the individual photos. It does a real nice, simple job of doing that. Here's your various and sundry pictures on the side. It's a $30 package. This company also provides you a bunch of themes that you can use in creating your web page, so you don't have to go out and find a lot of stuff and import stuff and figure out how to cut it all in there. I have not downloaded the themes for this, but they are available. They also make some other simple software that works quite nicely, a webcam, a to-dos, and a calculator, and I'm not going to go into those. CD-ROM photo CDs. This is an area where, is this the one? Yeah, okay. This is where you can take your photos and store them onto a CD, but unlike having it on a data CD that only your computer uses, this will put it onto a photo CD, that special kind that will work in a DVD player or in most of the DVD players. If your DVD player can support reading CD-ROM discs, this will probably work with it. And here's a step-by-step directions on how to do this. And the gentleman that had the discussion on the other side about whether to use Roxio or whether to use Nero. This is a built-in feature with Nero. Any version 5.5 or above has this feature in it, and you can just go off and do it. The downside of this whole process is the picture quality is not very good. And it's not because the software isn't any good or because you've done something wrong. Your digital images are 10, 15, 20 times better than what a television set's capable of displaying. Your monitor is capable of displaying that. When you convert these things over to VCD images or super VCD images that will work with a television set, you're throwing away so much that what's left just isn't very good. You're going to get television quality, but television quality compared to a computer monitor quality is not very good. And that's where the problem comes in here. This program will do all the conversions for you. You don't have to worry about what the standards are or anything else like that. It's all done for you automatically.
Keep in mind the great thing about photo CDs, whoever you send them to doesn't have to have a computer,
Right.
doesn't have to use one. All they have to have is a DVD player. They put in, hit the play button, and up come the photos.
Okay. CDs cost you a dime, 58 cents to mail one, another dime, 15 cents to get a little bit of cardboard taped together to put around it. So for $1, you got it in the mail. A lot cheaper than making prints for somebody or loaning them your negatives or doing whatever. Email photos. Dwayne asked about this one. It's very easy to email photos. You can send them as attachments. You don't even have to get real fancy with these things. You can do what we showed the other gentleman to do, just drag and drop them into your email messages. However, one big word of caution. Displaying something on a screen. What happened? Oh, that came on. It's off now?
Yeah. No, it wasn't on.
Displaying something on a screen, you only need 72 dpi for the effective resolution of the monitor. So if you have this image that's multi-megapixels out there, where you got a 50K, 60K, 100K file, there's no need to ship that via email. And if you do, you can maybe send a very few. But if you go through and resample your images, and you can use the InfraFrame program to do that, down to 72 dpi, or use one of the programs. Again, PhotoAlpha supports emailing pictures, so does JASIC's photo album software. They will automatically convert them down to a size that will go through most email programs and not cause a whole lot of trouble. Okay? So you can email them, that's no problem. You just need to get them down to where you can get enough of them through your email system, and so someone else on the other side can kind of deal with them.
Would that work on reducing the size of PowerPoint presentations?
Yes.
Yeah.
I have trouble emailing those because they're so large and zip files.
If the program can open them up, and then you can just, on InfraFrame View, and there's probably a plug-in for PowerPoint for this program, you would go through, who's going to want an image? Wonderful. Nothing is ever simple. We'll just take this nice photo here of our Mallards. Bill's a big Mallards hockey fan player, so we'll, that's kind of a private joke. He doesn't like the Mallards, but that's another story. To take and rechange this image, all you need to do is click on Image, come down here to Resample. This one is already at 72 dpi because I took it off the net, but you'll find on yours these will be higher images, and you can take and reduce these sizes down and reduce the size of those images down dramatically. You can also, if you want, just go over here and use some of the preset values, which they have, which will also reduce the size of the image and the amount of data space that it takes up.
Couple things. IRFan will do this in batch mode, so you can feed it every folder, every picture in a directory. So if you have 50 or 60 of these things to do, you can just loosen the whole directory. It does them all automatically for you. So you have to sit there and do each individual one. The other thing to watch is if you're trying to look at the format you're saving your pictures in. If you're saving them as bitmaps or TIFFs, there's no compression. They're going to be huge. If you save them as JPEGs, you can specify a quality level, and usually 80% or so, most people won't see the degradation in, and the file is substantially smaller than a bitmap or a TIFF.
Does that answer your question, ma'am?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Not a problem. Okay? So that's essentially what you have to do in dealing with email. A true photo CD. Well, this was a scheme that Kodak came out with, and there's software out there that'll do these things. And you can order your regular photographs when you take film in to be processed off on photo CDs. It costs between $3 and $5, depending upon who you get them from. Some of the stuff Kodak does is pretty good. Some of the stuff that Seattle Filmworks used to do on batch processing was absolutely atrocious. The advantage that it has is your CD comes to you, your photos come to you on a CD, and you can print them off and manipulate them yourself. If you get the ones from Kodak, they also provide the software to work directly with your images. Now, this is dealing with processed film. There are also software packages out there which will save these your pictures in the photo to CD format. JASIC software also does that. Okay, other things to do. When you bought your camera, you thought you were just going to be taking pictures with it. Well, there's a whole lot of things you can do with your camera that you never even gave a thought to. We're going to kind of explore a few of these things. Some of these are fun, some of these are helpful, and some of these you won't even believe. But let's take a look at them. First thing I want to talk about is taking what's barely visible. What we perceive about the world is based upon what we see. Problem is, what we see is a very small portion of that world. We see what's in the visible light spectrum. And of the total spectrum out there of everything, the visible light spectrum is about like that. So we don't see very much. You want to know how things like mosquitoes and things find you? They don't see too well in the visible light spectrum. They work in the infrared spectrum. Oh, isn't that wonderful? Because you can see a lot of strange things in the infrared spectrum or the near infrared spectrum that don't exist in reality. You're sensing heat, essentially, various and sundry degrees of heat and how things reflect and deal with heat. Digital cameras make working as infrared or near infrared a real treat. Working with it with a film camera was a real experience that you only wanted to do once or twice. You had all kinds of special film, all kinds of special filters, all kinds of special chemicals because it didn't work with the regular things. And if you needed a light source, you had something like a 400 or 500 watt bulb and a filter on it like that. And you tried to keep from burning yourself half to death. And you could take a picture at 5 or 6 feet in the dark with that. Wonderful. This just goes through, and I'm going to run through it rather quickly. But this are the things that you're going to see when you start to look at images. Greens aren't green. Greens are red. This is hotter than this. This is darker. And as you start going into different and sundry things, you'll see things about it. In space, infrared is absolutely fabulous, and those are some links off to the Halley telescope. Look how these images have changed from a normal image to a near infrared image. Talks about what you can do with the digitals and how you, on the more advanced cameras, how you can get the filters in and out and whatnot. You can also use some filters on your existing camera. And this is just something I'm just going to let you go through and take a look at yourself. But it's a whole different area of photography. And once you get tired of infrared, you can just keep moving right along the spectrum to the ultraviolet and out up into the radio frequencies. And it just gets a whole lot more out there than what you ever knew existed. Okay, another one. Shooting the moon. Like I say here, no, this isn't about a bunch of guys in a bus. The moon is a very difficult subject to take a picture of. It's generally only visible at night. It's a point of high light, a large amount of reflected light, not direct light, always surrounded by a dark background. And how do you go about taking pictures of that? That's what this whole thing is about. Extending your vision. This is one of my favorite things. I'm a big fella and I can't fit in a lot of places, but my digital camera goes there quite nicely. Underneath the sink, you ever have to go down and fix a set of faucets or tighten something up, or something's leaking, you don't know what? Shove the camera down there, take a picture, figure out what tools you need before you crawl down there and discover you can't get back out. What's down your heating duct? Have you lost something? Does it need to be cleaned? My head doesn't fit in a heating duct, but my digital camera does real well. And if you're going to do this, please use the camera strap that's on there, otherwise there'll be two things in your heating ducts. Another thing that works real well, if you have a notebook computer, get one of those real nice cheap net cams that they use for the notebooks that are real small. Throw the mounting bracket away in half the case. Man, hook a little flashlight up to that sucker and you got yourself essentially a poor man's version of a borescope. These are devices that cost $300-400. They're used to looking in walls and down pipes and so on and so forth. You've got one right at your hand. And you can get a real good webcam for that for free on a rebate, or if you really have to spend some money for it, it costs you probably about $10. Ever take your camera shopping? Shopping, this is one of my favorite things. I always get involved in a project and I'm working on something and I need a part or I need a tool. And it means I either stop or do it, or I get to send the wife for it. And she's not too tool literate, so it usually comes back with the wrong thing. Take a picture of it, take a picture of the item that she's got to go get, and off they go. She's a lot happier, and so am I. And while she's gone, you can sit and enjoy. Yes?
It's great to take pictures of wiring. Mm-hmm. When you disassemble a appliance or something, and it's color-coded, take a picture of it, and You don't have to write down or put all of the numbers on the wires so you get back where they
Right.
came from.
Very, very good tip. We're going to cover that and a couple other things. It's also good for documenting various and sundry things. We're going to cover in another section on here. Again, you're going to buy something like a large television set or a sofa. Is it the right one for you? Take a picture of it. Bring it home. Hold it around. Take a look. Some of the things Chuck's going to cover, we're going to show you how to make that sofa fit right into your living room. So you can see what it's going to look like there before it's even there. And one of my favorite ones, where's Jerry, our great bargain shopper? Not in here?
He's out shopping for bargains.
He's out shopping for bargains, okay? Not only can you take pictures with your camera, but you can save 10% on most purchases. How? Most of the real competitive stores offer 110% of a competitor's price, so they'll undercut any competitor's sale price or advertised price or regular price by 10%. The only problem you got is trying to prove what the regular price is. Sales catalog, no big deal. You just take the picture along and it's simple. But if it's on a shelf, you're kind of out of luck. Just take your digital camera over, take a picture of it, take one close, take one far back so they can know their competitor's store, because they do. Take the picture over to them and say, okay, fellas, here we go. No more argument.
Make sure you get a picture of the model number. Most places
Yeah.
that do price matches will only price match in the same model. And even though it may look the same, it may not be the same model sometimes.
Okay, documentation. Picture's worth 1,000 words. How do things go together? Very similar to what this gentleman was talking about here. Got those projects you only do once every couple of years and you can't figure them out, or once a year? How do you put the belly mower back on the tractor? If you remember in the first presentation, we were talking about my camera took pictures of spirit images. When we did the comparison between what digital cameras would do and what they were like, this one was the one that came out the best. It's a very old camera, has an extremely wide-angle lens on it, which means it takes real great flash pictures because I can get close and there's enough light to see the picture, to see the people. The problem that it has is on a real cold day, and it was probably about 5 or 10 degrees out that day, we were putting this back on the tractor, when you breathe, it picks up your breath because it's all around the camera lens, and that's what our little ghost images are here. And this is a thing, you can link into these, come on, so you can get a full-size picture, so you can really get in to see what it is. How does this thing go together? Where do the parts hook up? Yeah, I know, it comes with a manual. They got some drawings in there drawn by somebody in Japan, and you're trying to figure out what the heck they even look like, let alone what they are. Take a picture as you take it apart, take a picture as you put it back together again. Works for electrical wiring, it works for car parts. You're building a house. Where did you bury that cable? What's it look like? What's in those walls? Where are those pipes? Where are those electric wires? Real simple, real easy, doesn't cost a darn thing. Sorry. Another thing, documentation for insurance companies. If you've ever been robbed or had a fire, the insurance company wants proof that you actually had all that stuff. You had a fire, it's all gone. So is the stuff, so are the sales receipts these people think we all keep. And I know we all keep our sales receipts, right? Yeah.
Had to turn them into the rebates.
Yeah. There you go. Take your digital camera out and just start taking pictures. They don't have to be fancy. We're documenting the contents of the barn and the tools. It's just all shots. Open up the drawers, take a picture. What's in them? Should have been a little closer so it's a little more visible what's there. This one here doesn't look like very much. And I needed to work on that and got that a little bit lighter. That's just a little toolbox. It has a whole bunch of sprayer nozzles, check valves, stainless steel check valves, and all kinds of specialized sprayer equipment. That's a little $100 box of parts. And here's a bucket. Doesn't look like much. Again, another little $100 bucket of fittings and adapters and so on and so forth. Probably should have thrown it out on the barn floor and took a picture of it. It would have been better. But that's the kind of stuff you can do. If you've got any collections, stamps, Hummels, figurines, coins, anything like that, gosh, take a picture of it. Get in close. Get the serial numbers. Document the condition of them. In CD2, we showed you how to take tabletop photography. That's what part of what this is all about. Get it documented. Get them on CDs and get those CDs out of the house, because if you have a fire, they're going to be destroyed. Or if someone comes in and steals your stuff, they're probably going to take your computer and there goes all your documentation. So, put them on one of them 10-cent CDs and get it off the safety deposit box.
If you're going to take pictures of things like Hubbles and knickknacks and things, you might want to take, if they're already on display, rather than take them all off display and take pictures, just get a piece of white paper, 8.5 by 11 regular Xerox copy paper, set it behind there with your hand while you take a picture, and you'll have a white backdrop on it and have to take it off the shelf or take it out of where it's at.
Okay. Here is a whole bunch of stuff, and we're not going to go through it, where people have sent in what they have done with their digital camera. And we'll just let you go through this at your leisure. And we're going to drop down here to the very bottom, because I don't really recommend any of these, but some people have some real strange things they do with digital cameras. Okay? Chuck, you want to come up and do your part on
Sure.
the other thing? I'm going to just take and minimize this.
Yeah, even the wireless transmitters don't want to break. Okay, well, as my dad was telling me earlier, I do a lot of home remodeling and, well, really just jacking the roof up and sliding a new house under a section at a time. But we'll show you some of the neat things we've done with that. I've taken some pictures for some stuff at work, just doing some very simple website layouts. I'll show you some of the, I wouldn't say stranger things, but some of the less often thought of things you can do with a digital camera. Before I do this, I want you to bear in mind I'm not a professional photographer. I'm not even an amateur photographer. I'm just a guy who got a $49 camera at his local Office Max store on sale. One of the first things, I had a big culvert pipe under the driveway of my house. It goes under my yard, my driveway, my neighbor's driveway, and their yard. It's about a couple hundred feet long. Tree grew into it. Big tree grew into it. Plugged it up, and the culvert pipe exploded one night in the middle of a rainstorm, taking out my driveway, my neighbor's driveway, and a good portion of the street along with it. Called the city up. They came out and said, oh, yeah, we'll come out and take a look at it and fix it. When they come out, of course, it's just a little tiny hole. They just pour more stuff on it, and they go about their merry business. Next rainstorm comes by, the whole thing explodes again. I called them up to come out to take a look. So it's just a tiny hole to patch it up and go through this over and over again. So finally, after getting fed up with this, I decided to, I can show you what this blowout looks like during the day. This is during a rainstorm. I took a picture of it.
Double click.
There you go. You can see the blowout down there. It doesn't look like a whole lot. You can see it's where it's coming out of the ground like that. Excuse me. So I took a couple pictures of this, sent it off to my road commissioner and said, why don't you come out and fix this? It looks a little different, when there's actual rain going on. He said, well, that doesn't look all that bad. We're not going to be replacing anything. So they came out and they fixed it. It blew apart in the middle of the night. So I took a picture of it at night, and this isn't a real good shot, but you can see the water welling up over here. And if you can notice, this is a barricade, just like this one. You notice the water level is over the bottom plate? Okay? I'm standing about 3 feet away from this thing, praying I don't fall into it, get sucked down the street at a rather high rate of speed when I'm taking the shot with the flashlight. My neighbors are wondering what the hell I'm doing out there at 3 o'clock in the morning with the flashlight and the flash camera, but that's what I was doing. So I took a couple pictures of it, sent it to them, and again, you can see the barricade over here is underwater again. Mailed it to the road commissioner and said, I think you have a little bigger problem than you anticipated. So he decides to come out and fix it. And they brought the trackle out, dug up my driveway, my neighbor's driveway. And you can see this big pit in front of my house. It's about 13 feet deep in my neighbor's driveway, which is all cracked, by the way. And I hope he wasn't planning on going anywhere. Now, my neighbors were visiting their relatives at the time when all this happened, and I was talking to them over the telephone about all this going on. They just figured it was a tiny little hole again, no big deal. You can imagine their surprise. By the time they got back, it was all fixed. You can imagine their surprise. I showed them the picture of their car about to fall down in the gaping hole the city dug. Let's see if it gets more. When they're doing this, here's a picture of them taking down the tree. Now, keep in mind, I can't get out of my driveway like this for 2 days, so I'm calling my boss going, would love to come to work, but, right? And they don't really exactly believe me, so I took pictures of it and emailed it to them, showing them the city taking down the tree and filling in the hole and tearing the whole place up. I also took a picture of this is the original hole that was in there when it was dry. And I took that, there's a few things that I can recognize, so I know exactly where that spot's at. So if I ever have to go back and work on stuff again, I can, I know where the culvert is down in my driveway and stuff. These are just little thumbnails of the image, so I can email those a little easier. So that's one thing you can use to fight the city with. When they tell you the culvert pipe that exploded out of your driveway isn't a big deal, you can send them pictures and say, you might want to look at this again. I did some remodeling. replaced all the, I'll show you some pictures of remodeling my kitchen project, but basically I replaced all the cupboards in my kitchen. And if you ever bought kitchen cupboards recently, you go to Lowe's or Home Depot, you tell them you show them the picture of the kitchen, they draw it all up for you, they order them, they show up on a truck a few weeks later, right? And they're all perfect. Okay, well mine unfortunately weren't exactly perfect. A lot of mine came in damaged, and I'm arguing with the rep on telephone about what the damage is. Well, it's cracked. Well, is it a big crack or is it a small crack? Well, it's a fairly small crack, but it's in a place where you can't use it. Well, what do you mean? So we're going back and forth about this. And of course, I'm getting madder and madder because I spent a lot of money on these things. So I took pictures, and this one didn't turn out real well. You can see there's a crack in there. Let's try another one here. You can see there's this crack right here in the frame. There's a big crack right here on the bottom. Same big crack right there in the bottom. Big crack going all the way through and through here. This is a different cabinet. This one right here, you can see where this cabinet showed up as a 1/4 inch bigger than it's supposed to be. And unfortunately, that means when you line it up with other cabinets, it tends to stick out a little bit. Okay. Showed them the crack again. All the staples popping out of this one. This is, a fair amount of money invested in these cabinets, and I was unhappy to no end, especially after I screwed them up a second time. I emailed him all these pictures. He didn't replace them. I emailed all these pictures to his boss, and I had him out on my job site that afternoon with new cabinets. So another use for digital photography. Okay, speaking of my kitchen project, this is my wonderful kitchen remodeling project, and I'll show you the kitchen before. This is basically what my kitchen looked like. Nothing fancy. This is part of the remnants of a previous remodeling project that I hadn't finished and was making part of this project. But fairly small, 10 by 10 room, nothing fancy. This is the same shot, just from a different location. And this is a bedroom that is next to the kitchen. That Z-brick and stuff you saw was actually the back side of this wall right here. That's the kitchen before. The kitchen during demolition, like that, with the wall all knocked out. I know where this pipe is now. Same 3 angles all the time. Same 3 shots you can always compare. Notice all this debris. Let's see, during the construction project, this is kind of what we looked at during the project, and this is the same shot again. And we got all done. Let me back that off for you. The kitchen went looking kind of like this. It's a night shot. Another night shot. Oops. This one's in the day. And this, again, the same 3 angles so you can see everything on here. To get some of these pictures to turn out right, especially the ones at night, to get the coloring right, I couldn't get the colors to work right on this shot because of the camera kept picking up these colors and not giving me white balance the right way. So I actually wound up putting a paper plate actually over here on the countertop, a white paper plate, took the picture, then told the photo editing software that's white, and it adjusted everything to that level, and then I came back and copied and pasted that out so you can't see it. So that's how I was able to get a shot that has the right white balance, even though you're indoors looking out of a window to get the white balance. Okay, while we're doing the project, we wanted to see where certain things are supposed to line up when we got the cabinets. So we literally drew on the wall with magic markers at the right places and took pictures of it so we know where the cabinets would line up when we got all done. Took that down to Lowe's and said, it's got to fit this. Okay, some more pictures of the magic markers. That's lots of fun too, writing on your walls with a big black magic marker. We took measurements of where the walls are supposed to be. This is a wall washer at 42 inches, another wall washer at 42 inches, 3-link switch box. So we have documentation on the walls of where everything's going in, a picture of that so I know where it was to start with. Then this is a picture of the standpipe. I know that flue pipe is buried in the wall today. I know he's this one stud cavity away from this wall washer and 1 stud cavity away from that wall washer, so I know where he's at. So I don't drive a nail through him when I go to hang a picture again. We took some pictures here. This is basically a T-brace that holds the bar in place. And we wanted to know where it was because when we put the bar in, we'd have drywall up on this, and you wouldn't know where exactly that was. So we took out a tape measure, measured it, wrote the big numbers on there, took a picture of it. So when it came time to put the bar in place, and we had the drywall up, we could go, oh yeah, here's the picture. It's 40 inches, it's 60 inches, and we knew exactly where it was and we didn't miss it. So I didn't have to fix drywall where I pounded nails in the wrong place trying to find it. This is a picture of the countertop that I was interested in. We went to Lowe's and Home Depot and did a bunch of shopping and took pictures of all the countertops. And the idea was, I didn't get a chance to do it, the idea was I could take these countertops when I got the kitchen done without the counters in it and paste these in to see which one I like. I like this one so much I didn't bother to paste it. So that was my kitchen project. Of course, no home remodeling project is complete without a deck. This is the deck before. And some of these pictures aren't so great. This is, I don't know if you can see this up here or not. You really can't. The old deck is kind of in this area. It's real small. This is a scan of a Polaroid, so you have to bear with me. It's up in this area. Again, you can see it's real small. It goes from here to here and doesn't go back past the house like it should. Doesn't go in the front of the house. If you looked in the previous picture, you can't see very well, but this deck actually slopes towards the house almost 8 inches. So if you stood in one corner, you're 8 inches taller than if you stood in the other corner, which is lots of fun if you have a barbecue and beer party on your deck. This is a picture of the house.
Check on that. Click on that index file, Chuck. It'll give you all your pictures.
Okay.
Take a second. There you go.
Yeah. This is just some pictures of the deck taken off of the house. So this is kind of where I started. I have a real bad habit of starting a project before I get out the camera. Get out the camera first, take your pictures so you can show them later. This is the house without the deck on it. I took these pictures and I put them into a program called Micrographics Designer, which is kind of a photo editor CAD/CAM package, kind of all mixed into one. And I came up with this plan. I came up with one plan, which is to put the stairs on the side of the house over here. The stairs on the side of the deck. If you notice this picture, the angle slopes here because I'm not directly onto the house, I'm back at an angle. So when I was in micrographics, I just snapped an invisible line along the siding edge right here, extended that out 16 feet, the width of the deck, and that let me draw this orthoscopically so it retained its perspective the right way. So I came up with this idea, said stairs on the side. I don't know if we like it a whole lot. Came up with this one, stairs on front. And I liked that one a little bit better, so that's what we went with. So that's what the plan was to make the deck look like. Okay, so how close do we come? Well, let me get to that photo. Let's see here. I think this is what the deck wound up looking like when we got all done. Okay, so here's the... This is what I actually had. That won't go here, folks. Keeps going the opposite ones are dead.
Yeah.
Want to open up two?
Yeah. No, you can't. I got it locked for one.
Okay. How do you fix that? Do you know how to fix that, Dad?
Close that out. Up there, there's a thing under either view or options. So down there about instances or something. Yeah, we could just survive.
Yeah, anyway. So you can see that this is what we planned on coming up with. And this is what we wound up with. Pretty much on target. While I was doing all this, working on this project, I took some pictures during it.
Index will work again.
Okay. I took the same pictures from all 3 locations as we're going through construction. This is the construction phase. These aren't the ones I had in the CD, Dan.
Okay. CD's out there in the D.
It's all right. I'll find it. Sorry, bear with me here, folks. We threw this together rather quick. There we go. The local building inspector said you had to have rebar in there on 2-foot centers. And by the way, I'm on vacation when you want to do your inspection. So take a picture for me, and I'll believe you. So we literally took a picture of the rebar on 2-foot centers. That's my dad's rear end sitting there on the ladder for scale. So, and we have other pictures like that in here on the other side. So when it came time to get the building permit signed off on, I just emailed them these pictures and said, here you go. There's the rebar on 2-foot centers. It's perfectly happy.
Is that a 2-foot rear end?
Yeah, it's a 2-foot rear end. Yeah. And I took these same pictures. I was doing the construction. There's the same 3 shots from each side all the time. So like here's the top all 3 times. Some of these aren't quite the right way. I took the front all 3 times. So you can keep going as each phase of the construction goes in. It's like the cable box. This is from the street while we're building it. And then this is the street. This is the creek side of the house as we're building it one time. And here's the creek side again a little later. So it's the same picture each time as you go further and further in the construction process. Some of that was just so I could convince myself we were actually making progress. This deck took almost a year to build. Part of it was so I could convince my neighbors we're making progress on this whole thing. And part of it was also for posterity. Let's see.
What Chuck hasn't told you is when you build a deck, you don't start out with a backhoe and 22 yards of concrete.
Oh, I didn't show you that? Yeah, that's how I started my deck project. There you go. This is the start of the deck project. A backhoe. Okay. It's actually not fair to call it a deck. There's a 16 by 24 workshop hidden underneath the deck. We started with that. So yeah, 22 yards of concrete and a backhoe and enough cement trucks up and down the road to piss off all my neighbors. Of course, we got done with the deck and we needed a sidewalk because we ripped the old sidewalks out. So initially, this is what the front kind of looked like while we're still in the middle of building the deck. This is before the deck is done. The old sidewalks have been ripped completely out in here, and we got all these walk boards and all this general nasty-looking grass, and a construction project, right? Aren't you glad you aren't my neighbor? So I took this photo right here, and I did a little bit of work with it with just a simple program called ArcSoft, and came up with these plans. I said, okay, let's do a couple different layouts. Let's just do one that's straight. So same photo again, and I just went and I grabbed from the picture. I took a picture of the concrete on my driveway, and I cut little squares of that and pasted them across here to make this straight line in here. I also, if you notice, changed the window. And I just did this by taking the window used to have crossbars in here, and stopped right here. And I just took the background of the window here, cut and pasted that over where those bars were, and then drew in, cut and pasted some white bars, copied the bars from here, down to here, down to here, down to here, to make it look like a walkout window, because eventually I'd like to put a walkout window down here. And this I just kind of drew by hand. If I'd been a little smarter, there's a guy up the street that's got a deck the same color as mine. I could have gone and taken a picture of that, of the side of his deck, and pasted it in here to make it look like my deck would have looked like when I was all done. So this is one with a straight sidewalk in here. I went, well, it's not bad, but it looks kind of like a straight sidewalk, right? So let's try something a little different. I said, well, how do we try an M, where we just have pads? Little pad right here, little pad right here, little pad right here, and mulch or gravel out in here. This mulch, by the way, is not mulch. It's actually this picture right here of rocks in a riverbed it's been shrunk down and then copied over itself so many times it looks like mulch in there. So if you're looking for background stuff to fill into photos and things, you don't always necessarily have to have the real thing like mulch. You can shrink it, expand it, stretch it, distort it, and it winds up looking like mulch or rocks or whatever you want to have. The other one I planned in here was a bubble drawing. And this is where I just put a little kind of a patio in front of this thing. And so, that doesn't look too bad. We're going to go with that. So that's what we actually wound up making. And we got all done. Here it is done. You'll have to excuse the mess. I'm doing some remodeling work in the basement, but you can see the bubble in here. I don't have the walkout window in here yet, but that's coming up eventually. You can actually see the bubble. It turned out pretty close to what the plan was like. The concrete's not quite as pink, but the general idea. The same shot right here. One of the tricky things when you're doing this, if you want to compare before and afters, is to make sure you take your before shot and your after shot in the same place. In the kitchen project, that was easy. I just stood in the doorways, and I knew as long as I was standing in the doorway, I was in the same spot. On the deck project, that was harder because I was out in the yard, and I put flags in, but the concrete truck knocked over the flags, so I couldn't find them again. This shot, I happened to stand in a particular crack on the driveway all the time, so I knew I was always in the same place. Okay, let's see. This is some pictures of the downtown famous bar building. I don't know why I got involved in this. I work with telephones for a living, but for some reason somebody decided that I need to help do some web design in these little price lookup units. You see them in the stores. I got, you stick your merchandise underneath them. They show you a picture of the merchandise and how much it costs and all that. We wanted to have a slideshow on there before you were scanning, just running through pictures of the building. Sounds like a great idea, and if you got a store like Famous Bar Galleria, you can take a beautiful picture of Famous Bar Galleria from up on I-170, because you can see the whole thing. You get far enough away. Unfortunately, the Famous Bar building downtown is 22 stories tall. It's gridlocked with other buildings, and you can't, by the time you get far enough away to see the whole thing, you got another building in your way. So you can't get a picture of that building no matter what you do. And if you do get a picture of the building, there's nothing on it that says Famous Bar anywhere on the entire thing. So I went through and took some pictures like this of the building. This is actually taken from the parking garage across the street, and this is just taken in the middle of the afternoon one day. Can't tell it says Famous Bar anywhere. Took this one from the street corner. This is actually my dentist's office across the street. Can't tell it says Famous Bar anywhere. Can't see the whole building. Took this one from down the street corner, and you can't tell it says Famous Bar anywhere, and you can't see the whole building either. So what we did, is I said, well, let me see if I can do with ArcSoft a little bit of just messing around. So I took ArcSoft, and the first thing I did was I came to, let's say it's picture number 12 right here. If you notice, there's a car parked down here, and there's a guy walking away, and there's a guy walking in the building, and it doesn't really look like a good shot. And okay, maybe I should have done this Sunday morning at 6 o'clock in the morning when nobody's on the street, but I really am not that dedicated to my job. So first thing I did is I came in here and I cut all the people out. Car's gone, person's gone, walking the building. And all I did to do that was I just came in and just cut and copied this little stretch of sidewalk right here over this stretch of sidewalk, and this plant over the edge of the guy who was walking in, another piece of sidewalk over, and you get something that looks fairly reasonable. And then you take the whole thing and you blur it, where you did all that cutting and pasting, so it kind of blends it all together. And we'll show you, if we've got time, we'll show you that in a little bit. These little bits in here that don't look quite right is because I saved this at a JPEG at fairly low percent quality before I started editing. So I started out with a kind of a lossy image to start with. But this didn't look too bad. You got rid of the car and all that, but you still can't tell it says Famous Bar anywhere. So I came through and put this little Famous Bar logo script in here. Now that doesn't exist in the real world. It looks like it's part of the audio, but it's not. If you notice how it just kind of fades in off the sun, the glint of the sun, I did that just by doing a script text over that with regular text, twisting it so it matches the same perspective as this line right here, so it grows like the other one does. And then I did just a regular blur, and the blur brought in some of this brighter sun-colored red, so it looks like this thing is glinting in the sun. My boss looked at it and said, great, it now says Famous Bar, but I can't really read it because he's got old eyes, right? So we went with another one, this one right here, and now you can see it. It looks just like the damn thing's printed on the awning. Well, close, but not quite. You notice the R kind of ends right where the R should end. I mean, it really kind of looks like it fits in the frame a little too good. So we took this one, and we did that to it. Now it really looks like it's in the frame taken by some guy who didn't know what he was doing to start with, which is what the rest of the pictures look like, so it fits. We just made that same image a little too large, so we ran it off the screen, cropped the edge of the photo over there, and now it looks like it really is there because it's in scale, and you ran it off. You actually made a mistake to make it look like it was part of the real image. And you can see the blur effect in here, just kind of blends that right in. I should have blurred here a little bit more to kind of clean that up. So we took number 13 right here. This is the picture taken from my dentist building. And we got the cars in the street and all that fun stuff again. The guy here smoking a cigarette. So we did it again, and we took out the parking sign. So we go back up here. 13 original here. Here we go. There's a parking sign right here, right in the middle of your shot. Took out the parking sign here. You notice this mannequin here looks just like that mannequin there. That's because he is. I took this mannequin, which wasn't covered up by the parking sign, cut him out of here, copied him over here, which is over the top where the parking sign was, and the parking sign's post is all in through here. I just recreated all these by just copying and pasting them from another spot. I'll go back and you can see the original right here. See right here? This guy obscures the mannequin, so the mannequin came out of nowhere, and this post right here runs up through those things, so I just literally hand kind of drew them in very, very carefully, and you get an image. Let's see. We also got rid of the car in this shot, all in this area. This one didn't turn out so good. Again, you got to be careful. If you're editing your photos, save them as bitmaps, don't save them as JPEGs, and you won't get all these errors in here like this. And don't use an ArcSoft camera for $49 from Office Depot. Let's see, number 3 here. This is the original shot of number 3. Can't tell it's a building. We got these ladies standing right in front of the camera, which really wouldn't have been too bad because it kind of gives you an idea of excitement, people coming into the store and that. But you got this huge detour sign right in front of the main entrance. So we came in here and we... Oops, sorry, it's the wrong one. That's one fake logo. That's 3. Put fake logo up here again. Again, we did this orthoscopically so it matches the rest of this just by skewing it. And we got rid of the parking sign up here. And all I did to get rid of the parking sign was just came over here, grabbed this section of the pillar, put it over here, stretched it a bit and blurred it so it doesn't quite look like the one back over here. And if you notice, the post is still here for the parking sign. You probably wouldn't have seen that if I hadn't pointed it out to you. didn't bother to take it out because I figured if I took it out, it would look more goofy than if I left it in, because it kind of blends back in here. I had to draw the tree trunk in back by hand. So that's some of the things you can do. I don't profess to be a real good,
I have a question. Just like you were talking earlier about the slideshow, and you were clicking back and forth there, could you put that in the slideshow presentation where this with before after?
Absolutely. Absolutely, sure could have. At 5:45 this afternoon, when I finally got home from work, I was going, I got to go to the computer club, get my stuff on CD. That really wasn't on the agenda.
But it's KDN.
Absolutely. These are just regular photos, nothing fancy.
And that was in the program you showed?
Yeah, the only thing you have to do is you have to go through and change the name of the files, so that they'll come up in order. So you have to name them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so it will show them in the actual order that you want them to appear in.
Here's some other stuff I did for work. I'm going to run through this real quick. This is one thing I did for work. When I told people that I had my own bulldozer, so don't mess with me, I'll come over and knock down your house, so don't believe me, so I took a picture of it on me. That's on my email signature at work. Me on a bulldozer, I'll come knock down your house, you give me more grief. We wanted to build a little tiny VRU that would hang on a wall, because we had a real small equipment room. So we built this little machine back here and hung it on the wall. And the vice president, David's Bridal, wouldn't believe us that it would fit on a wall. So we took pictures of it hanging on a wall back in our equipment room. Unfortunately, we couldn't get real good shots of it. But one thing you can use for a PC is, for digital cameras, is just documentation. They don't believe you that it fits in the small area they showed. You can actually show somebody it really fits. A picture is worth 1,000 words. I told this guy for 2 weeks, it's a small PC with a very small monitor and a keyboard, and we hang it on a wall. And when you can't hang a PC on a wall, well, here it is. He shut up after that. We installed a voice response unit up in our Great Lakes data center. One of the problems, this is the inside of the machine. One of the problems with all these cables is that we got to make sure they're in particular order and the cards are all hooked up. And with a picture like this, I can go back and when I want to look at which card was in which order, I can go back and take a look at this picture, zoom in here, and I can actually tell which of these cards is which type of card and which order they're in. So I have to tell a technician later on, take out card number 5. I can look at my documentation of this picture and tell them card number 5 is this card right here. It's this type of card. It's hooked up to this cable. The dip switches are set this way. It's the right card. Over the phone, I got no idea, and chances are the guy would rip out card number 5 from the bottom and get the wrong card. We also took some pictures of the hubs while we're up there. This is where our equipment's plugged into. So when this equipment is in Great Lakes, Ohio, Cleveland, Ohio. It's thousands of miles away. When it breaks, I have to talk to somebody over the phone and tell him, go do this, go do that. And it's very hard to do over the phone. He's never seen it. If I haven't been there to plug it in, I don't have any way to refer to it. I can go back and tell him, all right, look at Netgear hub number 192.168.166, and we're plugged into port number 5 over here. We're on this tag. The pictures that we actually even post these pictures on our internal website at work, so I can refer him back to our pictures on his web browser. So when he's sitting there trying to do this stuff over the phone, he can actually see the same picture, and I have annotation on those, this little text image showing which one's which. This is the computer room. If you're up there, I can tell him, go to the dark room, look behind the IBM 3157 terminals that are right here, and you'll find our piece of equipment. If you're coming into the back, here's what it looks like. So when he's walking in the room, he's got pictures of what the equipment looks like, what's around it. So I don't have to tell him, well, it's over yonder, 30 feet from the door. And he can actually see the thing. Sometimes you have to... There you go. This is just the back of some of the equipment. Again, the same deal. We had to have documentation where these cables are hooked into for warranty on the vendor. Took more pictures of them. We're not supposed to have Linksys hubs anywhere in our network because they don't work right. And our network guys are always going nuts when they find these. And we were told by the network guys work in St. Louis. These guys are in Ohio. They kept telling the network guys, we don't have any Linksys hubs nowhere in our network. We opened up the wiring closet, found this, so I took a picture of it and emailed it to the network guys. Who were not very happy to see the picture. I could have told them we had a Linksys hub and they wouldn't have believed me, but as soon as you show them the picture, they can't really argue with it. This is just a picture of the rack where some of our equipment's at. Again, the same deal. This comm rack has a number on there. It's up here, and in the sites up in the pages I'll put on our web page, I'll actually put this in bigger text at the top of the picture. And I can tell these guys, go back to comm rack number 5. It looks like this. We're the third server down, and here are the other servers like that when I wanted to reset this thing. Rather than, they can see that rather than me try to tell them that over the phone, which never seems to work. So that's kind of some of the other things you can do with your digital camera. Probably the home remodeling stuff's a little more applicable, but you can kind of get a general idea of once you got the picture in the computer, cut and paste and do whatever you want with it. You can add sidewalks, you can add decks, you can document where you got wiring running, cables running. studs in the wall cavity, anything you want inside of the house. Somebody wanted to see me do one of these ones with ArcSoft. I can find it on here.
No, we have enough time, Chuck.
We're 9:30 right now.
Yeah, well, there's another third to go yet.
Okay, no, sir. Okay. Well, if we get time later on, we'll come back to that. I'll show you how we did some of those with ArcSoft. The beauty of ArcSoft is not a great program like Photoshop is, but it's usually free with all the cameras. And you saw I was able to go through and edit pictures, take things out, and add things in with it, which for the most part is all you want to do with Photoshop.
Same thing he was doing there. You can put your couch in your living room, change the hangings on the wall, and you can try out colors on rooms.
If your wife loves to move furniture around back and forth, take a picture of the couch and move it for her on the.
Any place she wants. A lot easier on the old back. Okay, let's go through the third part of what we had picked out here. I gotta get these out in the right order, or the glasses don't work. It all hangs up in the wires. Okay, the third thing we want to talk about is managing your wrong program. Your photos. And okay. I kind of shortchanged this one. Like I said, I kind of ran out of some time here too. But the main thing that I want to get through here is that, okay, you got your photos, you've done your thing with them, and now what are you going to do with them? You can't just leave them on your hard drive. You can print out a copy and stick them in a scrapbook, but there's a whole bunch of concerns about that. You can put them on a CD, and CDs last forever, right, folks?
No.
No, they don't, okay? In fact, they may not last even a few months, and we had some very bad experiences with that we'll talk about. JPEGs, that's one of the common formats of saving your pictures. I'm not going to go through this, but you need to go through this thing, all the myths, and separate the fact from the fiction about what happens when you save them. Can you open and save them again? It's not a problem. But if you open them, edit them, and then save them again, yeah, you're going to keep losing things as you go down through here. So you need to be very aware of what you're doing when you open a picture and edit it and then resave it again.
You saw that in my photos where I got all those little blotchy things. That's exactly
That's what that comes from, okay? JPEGs is a nice format, but it's a loss compression format, and it loses parts of your picture. If you're very, very serious about things and you have a good camera, you keep things in TIFF format. Only problem with TIFF file is most pictures look about 8 to 20 megabytes. So they're huge files to try to work with. But nothing is compressed and nothing is lost. So you need to read this and make sure you understand that. And there's a bunch of those and some stuff about the GIF files in here. CDs last forever. No, they definitely do not. CDs have two major enemies. One, strangely enough, is what created it, technology. And the second one is improper care. And what do I mean by technology? The makers of the CDs will tell you that their media is good for 100 years. Yeah, it probably is good for 100 years if stored under the right conditions. But where in 10 years are you going to find a computer that's going to have a CD-ROM drive, let alone be able to read one? Technology evolves and moves on, and if you don't keep your pictures and your CDs up on the latest media, you will have a very large collection of very nice personalized coasters. Where is the problem with this? Well, the problem is if you're saving pictures for posterity of your family, what's going to happen in 15 or 20 years when you give these to your children is they're going to have a coaster collection. Pictures that were handed down in families, original pictures, are in pretty good shape, particularly the black and whites. Now, the early colors from the Second World War, they're all faded out and gone and lost forever. But I have some pictures of great-great-great-grandfathers from 1860. I have a whole bunch of family pictures from the 1870s, 1880s, and 1890s. The later stuff is as good as anything you would see today. The other ones are on tin types that are barely visible because they weren't stored right and got into light, but you can recover those. But you put it out on a digital media and it can't be read, there it is. And you're not the only one who has this particular problem. The government is faced with this thing in spades. The BBC went out and made a whole big digital archive in 1986, all lost. no programmers around who know what it was, no computers around to run it. Most of the tapes which NASA has collected, all of the information from space, is garbage. Why? Oh, it's all a nice 8 and 9 track tape format sitting over in a corner someplace, 1600 dBi tapes. You can't find anything to read those things. They got bushel baskets of them. The guys who wrote those programs are my age and 20 years older than me. We're not in the business anymore. The computers that ran these things, you're talking about old Honeywells, and maybe if they were lucky, an early 360 series, they don't exist anymore. It's all gone. It's all lost. So there's a big myth about the digital media being out there and being around forever. It's not. If you want to keep your stuff, you have to store it right, and every time there's a major technology change, which is a positive change, one that is recognized and establishes itself, you have to move to that media. The next change is going to be the DVDs, and when the DVD format gets stabilized and they agree on what the format's going to be, and the prices get reasonable, you're going to need to take everything you have collected and move it to that media. And when the next one comes down, either liquid crystal display or protein storage media, you're going to have to move to that. You're going to have to keep moving and keep it current. Otherwise, it's just a large collection of trash.
You want a good example of that, a recent example, store all your pictures on floppy diskette. Hope you don't go out and buy a brand new Dell computer and throw away your old one first. It won't come with a floppy drive.
That's at least fixable. You can put a floppy drive in it. They haven't gone so far yet to take the controller cards out next month. Improper care. CDs are relatively durable. I mean, they don't break and crack too easily. Even when they're scratched, they work pretty well. But we had a bad experience with about 40 of them here about 2 months ago. That's just absolutely unbelievable. They were stored what we thought was relatively well, but it turned out they weren't. Don't ever place 2 of these things in an envelope. Everybody saves the nickel right on a paper, so you put one in this way, you take the other one, you put the back against this, and you slide 2 in an envelope, right? Don't ever do that. We pulled them apart, and the reflective coating peeled right off and stuck to them. Put them in there with the ink still dry, it's just like glue. Put them face to face, back to face, the ink gets on this side, you can't read your data. If you're going to write on these things with a magic marker, no matter what you do, even putting them in a paper folder, make sure that thing is dead dry before you do that, because it will stick it to this piece of paper just like it was glue under the right circumstances, and you pull it out, and there's a big old hole in the media here. We also had a nice habit of putting these things in, a whole bunch of these things, and to keep a collection of stuff together, you put a rubber band around it, right? Yeah. Uh-huh. Don't ever do that. That just added pressure to the whole thing and just compounded the whole problem.
Yeah, and whatever you do, don't do it to the blue diskettes you get from Circuit City for $10 for 200. They seem to be rather gluey on their label side.
Okay, don't put these in direct sun. Don't put them in contact with heat, because it will warp this thing. Okay? And we all know which is the most important side of these CDs, right? We all protect this side, the side we write on. We don't do anything with this side, right? That's the most important side of the CD. The reflective coating side. You get a hole, even a microscopic hole in that reflective coating, and that CD will not read. And that's because the laser beam bounces off of here, is reflected off this reflective coating down into the mirrors, and that's how it works. So if you get anything wrong on the back side of this thing, it's trash. So those paper labels that you don't want to buy because it costs so darn much money actually serve an important purpose after all. They protect these things.
Don't try to take one off.
No.
No. If you get it on there wrong, just burn another CD and throw the other one away.
My CDs I put back to back like that, when I pulled them apart, they actually looked like I pulled the labels off them. It just took the whole coating right off the back of the things.
They've got to be stored right.
And don't give your CDs to Jim Collins.
Okay, archival. This is more dealing with scrapbooks and with other things. But if you collect regular photos, or you have collections, or you have important papers or newspaper things, just don't go saving these things and go off and buy a scrapbook. Go and find out what you should and shouldn't do. There's lots of sites out there that talk about the proper way to archive. and store things in paper, by actually doing it wrong, you actually cause more damage than what you create. I have at home 5 Rubbermaid tubs of photographs. Most of them are from my grandfather. They're from the 1900s and come forward to about 1930. They were all put on in the traditional black paper photo albums, which is an acid grade paper. It's affected the paper. On some of them, not too bad. On others, I've been very lucky. The photo albums and all the paper have all fallen apart. The bad news is, so did all the descriptions of what the photographs are. So, if it's not done right, you're just causing yourself more problems than what you've ever got. Okay. How do we manage what we've got and keep track of it? The easiest way to do that is with some type of a cataloging program. Most of the thumbnail management programs, you've seen us use a couple of them here tonight, do that for you. The one that we use for the creation of most of the stuff on the discs, is Thumbs Plus. This one's version 5. That's their current version. This is one of the first thumbnail programs that was widely used for creating web pages. It also has a very great cataloging function. I can turn this thing loose on my whole hard drive and say, go find every JPEG file, every GIF file, whatever extension I want it to find. It takes it a half a day. It scurries through everything. It builds a master database of those things. I can write descriptions underneath those pictures. I can do anything I want with them. It has built-in auto-correction and everything else. I can save it as a database, and I can tell it to move those things wherever I want to. We're not going to show that, but let's just see what you can do to make a very simple thumbnail image thing and what it'll do for you.
Okay, let's take a look at how to make thumbnails and a HTML page using Thumbs Plus. Program is open. You need to go find the directory you want to use, where your files are located. In this case, I've made a collection of files and put them in one location. It'll automatically generate the thumbnails for you, as you've seen here. Program also has an automatic color correction feature that you can enable, and a whole lot of other features in terms of moving things to clipboards, moving up and down, searching for files, and making catalogs. We'll come back and show you some of these features perhaps in one of the later demos. For now, we have our thumbnails made, and we want to go up and we're going to make an index page out of these things. And we're going to come down and we're going to select the web page wizard right here. It'll pop up. It'll let you select themes if you want. I generally don't do that. I just leave it run straight. A simple web page. I'm not interested in anything more complex, but you have all kinds of various in the center things which you can do in terms of spaces and colors and so on and so forth. And a prefix name. This is the name that your file is going to be called that will have the HTML extension. And I like to leave it as index, so I know that index.html will be my start file in any folder. Click on next. You can come up and define how you want your thumbnails arranged on the page. This will take a little bit of experience and guessing to get used to it. I generally like 3 or 4. Always pick enough rows that you know that you'll cover all of the pictures that you have planned. So I usually leave the number quite high. If it doesn't need them, it doesn't create them, it doesn't cost anything. I like a border around my pictures, and I can select a color for the page here if I want, from any particular way I want. In this case, we're just going to go with a straight white. I highly recommend that you do select some type of spacing and padding. This will keep the pictures from being jammed tight together when you make them. Go on and select next. This gives you your opportunity to set how big your thumbnails are going to be. This can be a little bit intimidating at first until you realize what's important is what the screen resolution is set for that you're going to ultimately display the pictures on. We try to work with an 800 by 600 screen format, which means you're going to be 800 pixels wide. Now, if I put 3 columns on here at 200 pixels, that means I'm 600 wide in pictures, plus my border width of 5 apiece, and that leaves me about 75 pixels on each side of the page. If I would go to 4, then there wouldn't be enough room for them all to fit on a page and be displayed at one time. And you'd get the little scroll bar at the bottom of the page, which just drives you crazy as you try to see all your pictures. So try to make this some multiple that will fit on a screen. If you need a bigger picture than 200, then cut the columns down to 2. You'll also notice here that I have made my thumbnails table size 200 by 200. Some of my pictures have a horizontal orientation, and some have a vertical orientation. If I make it to fit the horizontals, then it will squish my vertical pictures and change their aspect ratios. By making it square, it will just take them and make them all 200 by 200 for their largest dimension, and everything will be fine. My JPEG quality, I generally leave that set for 85. That's reasonable. Next. I generally use this setup. Everything's in the current folder. I'm going to copy the files to the destination folder, and I'd like to use lowercase file names. Netscape compatibility can be an issue, but generally not. Select items. If you select this, it allows you to put file names, dates, counts, and all this other kind of stuff into your picture, and you just pick one and push it over here. I don't like these things generally, although sometimes you will find that I will put the file names and things out there. And this time we're not going to do that. We have no items selected. The extension that we want to use will be HTML, and we do want to have a link generated for our thumbnails. If we had the file names out there, we could click these boxes and it would go off and it would make links for those too for you. Next thing, this is what we want to call this thing. This will be the title page of our page that we're going to create, and we're just going to call this Demo of Thumbs Plus. And you can make other tags and change things and put links and all kinds of stuff in here. We're going to save the URL in the folder and everything in one spot. We want to put this where? All we need to do is come down and file that we're going to put this into thumbnails. We're going to put everything into the demo folder, and we're now ready to click next. And our thumbnails and our index page will be right there, along with our photos in this case. And we're not going to save a scheme name, and we're going to launch our browser so we can take a look at it when it's done. You'll notice down here in the lower left corner, it was running. It finished that quickly, and there is our thumbnail page all made. Any one of these is hot, which means I can click on it, and there is the actual picture size that came with that. If I would like to enhance this thing, all I really need to do is exit this program, go in and open up a word processor, open up the file I want, and we know that this file in this particular case is photo 3 thumbnails demo. It's index.html. There is our file, and now we can do whatever we would like to do with this. If we want to center that, we can move that out to the center. We don't have anything, only a home page, so we can go to here. Table properties, I right-click to get that, by the way. And I can pick a format and layout for my table. I'd like to center everything in my table, and it's moved things over. If I would like to add a comment to a picture, you can notice the cursor is right here at the moment. Hit the return key. You can type in whatever you want. End key brings you here. And you have all the features of your word processor. I can change the text on these things or do whatever I would like to do with them. It's just that simple. I'd like to save my file. And now if I come back in and open up that file again, you can see the changes have been made to this that we made with the word processor.
I generally use front page because I do a lot of HTML editing, but most people don't have that. Any of the more modern word processors are perfectly capable of making these changes and editing these files and doing whatever you want. This is the basis of how all these presentations are made, which you see when we get into the details on them. We got the version 5 here, the trial version. I also put in version 4.1. It's a lot simpler interface and a little easier to use. If you kind of seem intimidated by the other one, give this one a try. Some of the other 4.1s don't expire, but I believe these with the S's do. I think you just like a 4.1A or B or just a straight 4. Those are shareware programs that never expire. Don't have one of those left. All Thumbs is another particular package out there. Easy Thumbs is a freeware program out there that goes through. It's a fairly nice program. It has a lot of features to it. It's relatively easy to do. Software is here. It supports all the images, and it's just a real nice package. It's got a relatively easy to use interface. It's a little more intuitive for making your web pages than what the Thumbs Plus is. It doesn't have all the cataloging features and all the nicey type stuff that the other one does. It does have a user's manual for those who like a little bit extra instruction. You're all ready to go. Thumbnailer is another one out there. Easy Thumbers. There's just a whole bunch of these things, and we've just kind of clicked down through here to give them to you, and you can kind of go off and look at these things at your own level. Thumbs Free is an interesting one. It has lots of features and some templates and stuff where you can build your own templates and run, and it also supports auto-running CDs. Thumbs Up is one that will also build code. It's great. It's better for if you're just going to make web pages and do things of that. What do you need to do to keep all your photos safe? Okay, here's what I do, and yes, I do this. I keep my photos in directories. You've seen that. If you want to go off and see the big list of stuff, that's just what's on this hard drive, okay? And they're all in here by various and sundry categories. And within those categories, there are subdirectories and so on and so forth. I do keep the thumbnail catalog, and the thumbnail catalog is there and available. I also do one other thing. When I save my images, there's another mirror directory that you didn't see. The ones you saw were the enhanced images and the finished images. I separate those from the raw images as they come out of the camera. I keep a full copy of untouched stuff, and then when I work with it, I save it in the same mirrored image structure on another drive so that I've got the untouched and the finished products. And that seems like maybe that's a little bit of extra, but there's lots of times when I want to go back and recrop a picture because something is now more important than what it was at that particular time. Or even more importantly, as I have moved from one software package to another and the technology has changed, I now can fix an awful lot of pictures that I couldn't fix before, or that when I fixed them before they weren't very good. If I had worked with the corrected image, I have all the artifacting left in there from the multiple saves, and I'm in trouble. It's always easier to fix the original than it is to fix the one that's been fixed a couple of times. So it's a little extra work, but even a hard drive, folks, what are we talking about? A 100 gig hard drive is $90 to $100. That's not really a whole lot of money if you're really into something. It's a lot cheaper than messing around and trying to save a lot of other things. And I'm thinking maybe our batteries are starting to go here. Also, when I get done with this, I burn at least 2 copies. I generally burn 3. I keep 1 copy in the house. I got a small little firebox that keep documents and stuff, but I throw 1 in there. I have 1 I keep out in my workshop, which is out of the house, so I don't have to worry about it. And I'd keep another copy that goes off to the bank safety deposit box. There's probably 25, 30 discs in there. I got my backup discs in there, my hard drives and everything else. So if you lose something, you've got it. It's out of the house and it's in a safe place. Another nice feature about it is they are relatively well controlled from a temperature and a humidity standpoint, so you don't have any of those issues to worry about. When you put them in the box, don't cram them in a box or get them in there so tight that you're going to have the compression issues where you're going to tear off all of the film on the reflective films on the backs of them. Spend extra time and put a CD label on them, if nothing else, just to protect it. And if you got room in the box, I like them in jewel cases. For my own storage, I just keep them in these paper sleeves, but I don't compress them or keep them in there very tight. They're very, 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 very loose.
Jewel cases are free a lot of times. They're $10 for 100 after rebate. So
Yeah.
they're not overly expensive either.
And that's what I got. If we have any questions, we'll take those, and maybe we'll get you out of here by 10 o'clock. Okay, I'm done.
Great.